Hello and welcome to What Culture Gaming. I'm Josh, joined by the great men Jules, Gill and Ewan Patterson, because E3 week is in flow and Microsoft's Microsoft's conference just happened yesterday where they announced a bunch of stuff, 50 new games and 18 world premieres. So where to even begin with this, guys? I guess...
Well, I'll tell you what, let's start off by saying that their presentation chops need a bit of work, because I'll tell you what, if you're going to actually try and convey a sense of you should buy this game, maybe try delivering stuff with more tone than a flatlining heart monitor. Just a bit of advice.
Right, I thought he did all right. I thought they were fine. I think Phil Spencer came out and did his... Phil Spencer's like
He's a very good
endearing guy.
He's an endearing guy, but I do feel like he's a bit of Shakespeare in the Park for me. You know?
Really? Okay.
Well, I was a big fan of the way they changed the lighting around for each thing. When Forza had its little demo and they went for all the different seasons, I was like, oh, it's chilly in here.
I think it's because they shared the stage with Terry Crews, and no one's ever going to.
I was just there watching that. I was like, why is this advert yelling at me?
It's sort of strange how Terry Crews, the inclusion of Terry Crews, can make you excited about a game that doesn't look all that great.
No, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, we will get to
Should we go
that.
chronological order?
Yeah.
The
Oh God,
non-linear thing.
We can do non-linear because there's so much to sort of chew on, but we might as well start where it all began, which is Halo Infinite, the next installment in the Halo series by 343 Studios, but we don't actually know if this is sort of an official sequel to Halo 5 or if it is something else completely. Jules has a theory on this.
We were discussing this in the after we wrapped up our Bethesda video, and basically we were saying that didn't the animation for the rhinos look a little bit janky? There's a little bit sort of the weird sort of like prehistoric beasts that roamed across the land at the beginning. Now this thing, I was like, okay, but then I thought to myself, well, they usually pride themselves on showing exactly the sort of game detail that you're going to get, and then when it's zoomed out, you're like, oh, it looks better from this perspective as a top-down thing. Yeah. Is this going to be effectively a Halo Wars 3? Is it going to be a MMORPG style thing where you're looking over the rather than through the lenses?
I think what's interesting, I think some people have speculated this before, is the title Infinite. Could we be seeing a full exploration of the ring? Because when it zooms out and you see them all in that cannonless warthog going around, so maybe they're doing an open world Halo game.
Maybe it's their version of Command and Conquer, where it's like a full scale.
Maybe I don't know. I used to love Halo, and I don't have an Xbox One, so I've not had any games since Halo 4. But I would like this new Halo to be good.
I want it to be good. I'm not sure if I'm convinced on the fact that it might be like a tactical game just because they've got Halo Wars as sort of sub-series.
I mean, it is a long shot.
I do think it looks very different from a straight sequel. I'm not sure if it'll be called like Halo 6 or whatever. It's interesting that they only focused like a tiny little bit on it, didn't even mention it after they sort of announced that it was coming.
Very strange thing to open with as well. I feel like that would be the big punch that you'd lead to. So maybe, I don't know, it was a strange choice.
They should have gotten that guy from that video where he's just singing he's just doing the Halo noise and that bring him on stage.
I mean, it's been like, what, 3 years since Halo 5? Maybe 2, 3? I don't know, it's been a long time either way, and you'd expect them to be further along in development than this, considering we saw Gears 5, which has been probably in development much shorter. That definitely came out 2 years ago.
On the subject of Gears, let's talk about the order in which they did things.
Interesting.
Now, this is the thing, when somebody goes up to you and says, what do you think about Xbox? You say, oh, okay, the big titles are going to be like Forza, which will cover Halo, and Gears. So when Gears came out, and everyone was like, oh, brilliant, and it's like, Funko Pop Gears. If there's one thing I hate, it's goddamn Funko Pops.
Everyone's talking about like your Googles and your Amazons and your Facebooks, but I'm here worrying about the Funko alliance. Like they're everywhere.
Yeah.
You go into any shop, they're just there staring at you with those menacing eyes.
So there's going to be a game based around Funko Pops.
They are
for Gears of War.
The fourth horseman of the apocalypse, but yet at least it's confined to sort of the mobile realm. I suppose it's not encroaching on an actual game.
However, the other one that they released, the Tactics one, I've got time for that.
The switching perspectives. I think that's really clever.
Because I'm a huge fan of XCOM. I'm a huge fan of any sort of like squad-based strategy game. So this, for me, when they said that it's going to be that meets Gears of War, slightly quicker storyline and an emotional storyline, I'm like, I can definitely get on board with this. And it's a prequel. So we'll be getting set before Gears of War 1, 12 years, didn't they say?
I think so, yes.
So that means that we'll get to see a lot more of maybe Emergence Day and things like that, how they responded to it and how the world got put into the toilet so quickly.
I think Microsoft have had a lot of success, perhaps not like commercially, they haven't been like huge financial successes, but Halo Wars and Halo Wars 2, they've sort of catered to a niche that a lot of the other big publishers are moving away from. To sort of see them like double down on that with Gears of War Tactics.
Yeah.
That's cool to me. I like that they're pursuing that. I like that it's coming alongside these other games and not sort of replacing the main Gears.
They were one battle royale away from ruining everything.
He's the thing, right? These games were revealed, sort of rumored before this conference came out, and we covered that, and the 3 games were going to be this tactics game, which was true, Gears of War 5, which was true, and then this Battle Royale game, which is up in the air. Could that be the Funko Pop game? It's on a mobile.
It's a murder Funko Pops repeatedly. Give me that game.
It honestly could happen, I think.
But Gears 5, we have to admit that there is a lot of positivity going into this release, because they seem to have addressed one of the biggest critiques that you could ever level at a Gears game, which is it's all meat, no emotion. Whereas this definitely seems to be the other way around. We start on the death of a friend. We start on this thing of, okay, a new quest is going to be centered around the girl. Like, I am really enjoying the fact that they are pushing this harder rather than it being, kick the door down, chainsaw to the face. We're going to get that, obviously.
We're very much in the stage of reappraising all our cringy past exploits in the medium, because you had Kratos, you know, he's a dad now, he's got emotions. Yeah. And the Phoenix family obviously have emotions too. So I'd like to see them.
My one critique of the entire thing was, one, there was a segment where it looked like she couldn't aim for toffee, and 2, the least practical vehicle I have ever seen is the sailboat turret.
God, I love that.
Fine if you're turning, but if you're right behind it when you're sailing, you can't see anything.
What are you gonna do? I don't know.
Build a regular boat, a speedboat with a cannon.
That said, vehicle sections in Gears of War 4 were some of my favourite bits. On the motorbikes, that was awesome. So if they could make some kind of wacky vehicle and let you shoot
make it slightly more realistic. I mean, I'm not asking for much, am I? But apart from that, speaking of realism, let's talk about Kingdom Hearts 3. So that looks bloody great.
God, it does. The new. Am I right in saying that the Frozen lands and the Tangle lands are they new? Were they new?
They're
to
brand
Microsoft
new. Yeah, they're brand new.
That looks lush, man. That game looks really great, and I'm gonna get lynched for this, but I'm not I wasn't a huge fan of the originals. I didn't play them much.
No, that's totally fine.
But this has really got me excited.
Pixar stuff. Yeah, I never used to really play the old ones, but the Pixar stuff I'm massively interested in. So there's the Toy Story stuff. I was so confused by the really dramatic song they have playing in the background. You're saving the pig from Toy Story, and it's got this dramatic choir music in the background.
But that's always been the thing with Kingdom Hearts. It's one of those things where you need to swallow that pill early on and just accept that you will be put into emotional situations with Donald Duck. There's going to be things where it's going to be the end of the world. It's I'm dying.
You know what? I am down for that.
Yeah, me too.
So that got I'm sure the release date was announced before the conference.
January 29th, 27th. 2019. Something
in the late Januaries. I know it's around my birthday.
2077.
So quite a strange release date if I'm being honest. I would have thought they would have capitalised on the Christmas rush, but that's completely.
I think by the sounds of it, this fall season is going to be really stacked. I can see them wanting to sort of get out of that and get into the new year, straight after Christmas. You get Christmas money, you go out, you go buy Kingdom Hearts 3, you have a lovely time. In my opinion, I think that's quite indicative of Microsoft's approach to the Japanese market overall in this conference. I think they really made strides into try to win over that audience again. They announced obviously Kingdom Hearts. They announced that Nier Automata was coming finally.
Nice little segue into the
I'm winding up so that he can say From Software.
And then From Software, that's a new game, which was a surprise. We all thought, I think, that was going to show up on Sony stage, so to see that swiped away from them was interesting. That looks awesome.
It looks like a game I can actually play.
Well, the thing is, it's mixing sort of Tenchu with Edo Japan, feudal Japan stuff with the kind of Bloodborne, I would say much more than Dark Souls, very quick combat with platforming elements with the grappling hook style arm. There's a lot going on in this game, and as it stands, could be their answer to something more like Devil May Cry rather than Dark Souls.
I noticed the running theme of that console was just people with messed up arms. The other guy that Gears of War, and you had that, and there was one in DMC as well, which I'm also very excited.
Exactly, we might as well go into DMC, I suppose. Speaking of swipes away from Sony again.
How gorgeous did it look? I thought the last DMC had a really, really good, unique art style. I know a lot of people who are deep Devil May Cry purists are going to hate me for that, but I really did like that game. I really think this looks beautiful. Just everything down to the aesthetic, to how charming the characters are, just how unashamedly over the top it is. I'm really excited for that.
The woman that we saw in it, I really loved how they animated her mouth. I think that it's one of those things where you always get to a good quality of a good quality FMV will have well animated mouths. Like I just thought it was really cool. Reminded me, bizarrely enough, of the same sort of graphical style that we saw in Beyond Good and Evil 2, which I know is very different because it's very fantastical, but it was that sort of sense of realism, but with a sense of over the top as well. Combat looked great.
I suppose people will love that. So that's finally returning to sort of like the main franchise, a true sequel after 10 years since Devil May Cry 4.
Yeah, I mean they were quite keen to sort of distance themselves from DMC. So
they kept repeating like, "Oh, this is for the fans. We know you've been wanting it. We're going to finally give you it." And to see it, because obviously this has been leaked. This has been the worst kept secret in the entire industry. And a lot of the leaks pointed towards this being a Sony exclusive. So to not only not see it on Sony's stage, but to see it a cross-platform release, that's cool. I mean, that's good for fans, I think.
And it was lovely to see Kurt Cobain.
Of course it was.
Yeah,
you know, I thought we made it for this.
At the very end of it, just riding into it. That's great.
It's strange that we replaced Dante with Kurt Cobain. I don't know. Who knows? I suppose that brings us into Jump Force, which I was excited for until Jules actually explained what it was and what it's following up.
So I love Bandai Namco. I don't know why. I think that they're probably one of my favourite developers of all time. They just constantly put out weird and interesting, fun games. But this game, Jump Force, does technically already exist in the form of JS Victory Stars Versus or whatever it's called.
That's a long title.
It is, and basically like everyone's like, oh my god, it's Naruto fighting Goku and Frieza. It's like it already happened, and then JoJo got involved in it as well. Like this game already technically exists. It didn't do too well, so I'm hoping Jump Force is a lot better. I can't say much more on that, apart from the fact that visually it looks so flashy.
Why is it called Jump Force?
Because it's Shonen Jump, who are the people who own all the anime rights, and Jump Force is obviously them combined.
I just thought it's because they jumped around a lot.
Again, it could easily have been that.
Double meanings.
Yeah, but yeah, it looks great. I'm interested to see where it goes. It will be one of those things where the gameplay will decide this. So the first time that there's a gameplay trailer out, that will determine instantly whether or not I'm going to buy it or not. So.
Yeah. I guess we can move on to like a lot of sequels that were announced. Of course, we've got
Dying Light 2.
Dying Light 2.
I'm so excited. I can't even drop kick
everything. I love drop kicking people in that game.
Yeah.
I will play devil's advocate though, and I'll be on the side of the maybe not as impressed. Like I think that the idea of moving back to the feudal stage of like not as many guns and being more melee focused, I'm a huge fan of that. I just want to say I do think it's absolute BS, that whole sort of like your choices. I just got a huge whiff of Peter Molyneux when he was on there. It's like hundreds of choices that will shape your game in ways that you could never believe. And it's like that water one that you've just chosen. That's one of your biggies. That's one of your big five. I can tell that.
One of your big five.
Because it even had the day rolling over, and it said 9 days later. That's when the change would take effect, right? So then I thought to myself, okay. He said hundreds of choices. You're not going to be playing, the game for a super, super long amount of time, I imagine. So all these choices have to be in different areas. You'll have 5 big choices and about 40 ones that actually matter. The rest will be dialogue. I swear to God. I just don't believe him.
Techland are a really wholesome developer. The way they've supported the first Dying Light since it's come out, it's been really impressive.
But what they're saying is technically true. It does affect it. Like, I mean, if you get a different gun instead of a weapon or something like that, then yeah, that would be technically true. But I just don't think that. I think he might have oversold the storyline reaching.
I think you could be right, because I mean, as much as I really enjoyed Dying Light 1, the storyline wasn't necessarily like its biggest strength. So to see them kind of doubling down on that is both. It's both promising and scary, because I mean, if they mess it up, which they can, like you said, like the choices are certainly in there, but how much of an impact they're going to actually have and how much of it is just PR speak is who knows until we actually get our hands on it, you know what I mean? But it does look great.
If we're talking about stories, though, there's no greater story that's been ever shown on the Microsoft stage than the story of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. That's a story that is a narrative that is ongoing 24/7.
Certainly.
Interestingly enough, the features that they announced with this new PlayerUnknown's Battleground update seeming to be suggesting an icy map, which is fine, perfectly fine. But they pressed on with this war mode thing. Now, war mode seems to be pitting 2 groups of people against each other, or more, but groups of people. And I thought to myself, that just seems like deathmatch. So what they've done is that they've managed to do this thing where they've not invented a game mode, they've popularized a game mode of the all for one sort of thing, and now they're backtracking and adding in modes that other developers had been using for ages.
Halo should sue, or Quake, or whatever.
Oh yeah, the suing machine will fire up again.
Well, I mean,
soon.
we all knew that a lot of Battle Royale modes or games were going to be announced over this weekend, and I think it took about 6 minutes into E3 before DICE announced that it was coming to Battlefield. So obviously, PlayerUnknown's have got to sort of give them more than just one game mode, because they're no longer like the only horse in town. But if all you've got is kind of a glorified TDM,
Don't know about that. But speaking of
No.
Battlefield 5, what do you guys think of that?
I'm very excited.
I'm a huge. I think that Battlefield is my shooter.
Yes,
I'm
same.
not a Call of Duty guy. I used to be for Modern Warfare 2 and 3, and then I pretty much sort of dropped off the map for that. Battlefield is my shooter, and the fact that they're keeping it in sort of World War II, I'm just like, yes, let's go back to
I
the
wanted
old
to kind of
stuff.
talk about war stories for a second because no one's talking
Stories?
about
As in the
single player.
Oh yeah, that was actually alright, wasn't it?
There's loads of different things. Like I really like the Tides of War thing, where they'll take you from the beginning of the war, from the German invasion of France, all the way to the end. But as someone who's a big fan of like history, I think it's really interesting that they've looked at all these narratives surrounding World War II and they're deciding, okay, let's look at the ones that never get told. So even the last year's Call of Duty that was celebrated for going back to boots on the ground, going back to the series roots, that still traded a American-centric view of World War II. Whereas with this one in this trailer, we got to look at what looks to be a Norwegian point of view, because obviously Norway was invaded by the Nazis during that conflict, and we never really see that in either in cinema or in games or whatever. So if DICE are making a concerted effort to display these stories that kind of get overlooked, well, that's really cool because we never see that anymore. So props to you, DICE.
Yeah, and if anyone else is going to jump on the bandwagon and say that historic inaccuracy because of the whole women thing that was going on, you've got to remember, just go back in the day. Open up your PS1 collection and go and look at the front cover of Medal of Honor 2. Yeah. And you tell me that that was a big deal back in the day. Anyway, moving on from that.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for me, Battlefield, like you said, is like my shooter. But I think the way that EA have sort of marketed it so far is being a bit poor. Even at their own conference, it was kind of like, oh, he's a kind of a gameplay trailer, but not really. And then they were like, oh, shooting it to Microsoft, so we'll have like a full blood of war stories. And it was sort of the same trailer they showed before. Everything else I've seen outside of their own official messaging, like watching people play it on like YouTube and stuff, it looks so good. It's just they've somehow fumbled like sort of their own message, even though it looks great and everything I've heard about it, like you said with war stories, that thing of uncovering, you know, never before told really stories of World War II. That's all awesome. I just need them to convince everyone else of what you know people like us are hoping will happen. I guess so that was briefly brushed across pretty fast in the conference. I would
thought
say,
so.
in favour of the likes of, like we said, Crackdown 3. Who, with the inclusion of Terry Crews, it's just going to be
it's going to be a fun, stupid game that I'll play for a weekend. That's how it appeals to me at the moment.
Noticeably sort of lacking in any of the destruction that they touted beforehand. I don't know what's going on.
I'm just going to avoid that game because I had a really bad orb addiction back in the day. So never going back to there.
Well,
again.
It's the thing with the graphical fidelity as well. Like the fact that they keep on saying it's like it looks really good, but the cell shading thing can work really well for making really stylized games. For here, it does look a bit like a Unity game. Like, I'm just I don't know. I mean, just there's work to be done. I think.
And with, like, lest we forget, this was going to be a launch flagship Xbox One X title, and it doesn't really, even now, it doesn't seem to have like the looks necessary for it. Unlike another game that was announced, Forza Horizon 4, which looked lush. I'm not the biggest like car racing genre fan, but that looks excellent.
It's so
in
weird
Britain.
seeing Britain in a game. Like
where we're not the bad guys.
Well, that too, but it's so weird. Like you're going down, it's like, oh my god, that actually looks like the countryside.
Right. Okay. We have to balance that statement though with the fact that if we are going to recreate the English countryside, then expect to be stuck in 2-hour traffic jams.
I want cow simulation. I want traffic jams. I want that annoying motorway services trip where you get stuck and everyone's nagging you in the back of the car. I want it all in this new Forza Horizon.
If they are going to make it as in like a 1-for-1 thing of Britain, which would be absolutely idiotic if they did, because the British roads aren't that great, then I would love to see from Cornwall to Edinburgh. Like, come on guys, let's run to the sun, let's do this. I mean, like, it's bizarre to see them there. They are taking massive liberties with our weather, though, because I saw more sun in that gameplay trailer than I have in our last 3 summers here. So a bit of
a lot of liberties, but
saying that the lakes would freeze over in the winter. That hasn't happened since the Victorian times, mate.
Yeah. Also, them showing everyone riding around on the roads. If the vehicle physics of this game allow you to crash and run people off the road, I'm sorry, that was just a big load of nonsense.
Big load of nonsense.
But speaking of big loads of nonsense, let's talk about Tomb Raider. Now, see, like, I am a huge fan of the rebooted series that they've done here, so here's to see more on that front. Just ticked all my boxes, really. Not entirely sure why she's wearing the Day of the Dead mask, though.
Oh yeah, that was a bit strange, wasn't it?
That was a bit, because it was like, I didn't see any clear storyline connections, unless I missed something.
No, I don't know.
Maybe that's going to lead somewhere.
I thought it was a bit of a strange trailer. I was a big fan of the first two. I want this one to do well because I feel like it's been on hard times for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, this trailer, it looked like more Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Which I guess is all right.
Looks like Tomb Raider for a
Tomb
second.
Raider. Well, we don't know what's going on.
But I mean, like, in terms of games that look fantastic, we've got to talk about Ori and Will of the Wisp. That was beautiful. And the thing is that unfortunately I still haven't played the original one. Scott Tailford will break down this wall and
You can see him crawling out the lens of the camera to throttle you now.
He says that this is one of his favourite games, but then again he says that a lot of his games are his favourite games.
Very true.
But we can talk about one of my favourite games though.
Go on then.
Cuphead. Getting some
right.
DLC,
All right, yeah.
finally.
I almost burst there.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for this. I can't believe it's coming in 2019. I want it
Yeah,
now.
I know.
Cuphead
It's a
was
long
great.
wait, isn't it?
It is.
That? But
It looked lush though. I mean, as Cuphead always does.
more bosses, new playable character, more relics, more this, more that, blah, blah. Like, I mean, you can't go wrong with that, really. If you like what Cuphead is about, which isn't Dark Souls, then you will love this DLC. So there we go.
I guess we've got a couple more games before we get onto like some big hardware announcements that they sort of made.
Sure.
So I guess we'll crack into Cyberpunk 2077
Yep.
because that was the way they announced that was great, man. Like the sort of old static, Phil Spencer turning around, aesthetic.
I mean, I was going to say that was the game of show so far, and I doubt that will be outdone because it ticks so many boxes that I want. Made by the Witcher developers for a start, so we know it's going to be story-driven, choices, combat's going to be good. Like the aesthetics look amazing, the atmosphere, the fact that he's setting up that entire post-apocalyptic world perfectly. You don't need more of a story thing than that. Just saying it's great, but it's also massively turdy, you know, like, and like it looks great. Having who doesn't want an LED collar to their jacket?
I like how colourful it is. I think the neon is in particular is brilliant. There was a real danger they could have made it really brown and murky, but they've actually gone and made it all light and stuff. I think that's quite cool.
If I were to be critical of the entire trailer, I would say the fact that the lead that we look like we're playing as does look a bit stock, you know, shaved head, scarred face. I would have liked to see maybe more, you know, how they've done characters in the past. So.
I wonder, I mean, obviously nothing has been confirmed even though we have like a big trailer. I wonder if you will be able to like customise your character and like sort of tell them, because obviously we couldn't do that in The Witcher, which was based on books and stuff, but this seems like it's a new like original idea and story, so I'm hoping for the ability to sort of customise my own character.
Imagine all of the crazy sort of like clothes that you could wear.
I want Ryan Gosling's coat from Blade Runner 2049. I just want to wear that in this game and pretend
I
I'm
want
sort of
LEDs on my LEDs.
I want the censorship bars that they wear in Futurama. That's what I want. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
So I mean, what else we got? We had two weird ones. Just Cause 4, people said that it had already leaked like before, everyone knew that was coming, and we saw that, and I was a bit nonplussed about the whole thing. If you like Just Cause 3, you're gonna like Just Cause 4. It's pretty simple. However, one of the weirdest announcements they had there was the Battletoads one. Now, a minute and a half long, showed no footage, didn't even show in terms of graphics that it did show that anything impressive that I would say, and then made a joke about the fact that it had nothing to show. Why not just wait until you got something to show?
I think I have a theory about this because every E3 for the past 3 years, Phil Spencer keeps teasing Battletoads. He keeps wearing it on shirts.
Right.
They keep talking about it, and they're like, "Oh well, we might do it." And the fans are like, "You need to do Battletoads." I feel like this was just. It might not be far along in development, but this is just. Like, I feel like it's confirmation that we've heard you. You're getting Battletoads. You know, it'll come in a while, and we'll give you like a little.
If you've invoked the ire of the Battletoads community on this channel now, Jules, I mean we're in for hard times.
You know, it's a surprising amount with them.
No, don't get me wrong. Like when they were announced for, was it Killer Instinct? Like people went mad for that. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a fine game. I went back and played it recently, and I think that nostalgia goggles were quite heavy on a few people on that one. Like, it's a fine game.
Hey, they boasted like glorious hand-drawn 2.5D graphics.
Wow. Call me when it looks like Cuphead.
Oh, right, fair enough. Yeah, that has sort of set the bar for everything going forward, I guess.
But that's just me being a crotchety old man. But let's switch shoes from a crotchety old man and talk about a young kid with a nice imagination, because there was that... The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit.
God, there are so many games in this.
And this is apparently in on the Life is Strange universe.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. There were a lot of these. I noticed this in EA Play as well. There's a lot of games coming out that are having very frank and honest discussions about potentially some upsetting themes. Like I forgot which one it was on EA, but they were talking about how it was inspired by depression. And this one looks like it's going to be dealing with childhood trauma and stuff. And it's interesting, but I'm not necessarily sure sure that I'm going to want to come home and go and play this game and be sad a lot.
I mean, I felt the exact same way about playing games like Frostpunk or Darkest Dungeon or what's the other really? This War of Mine. Like, I understand that thing of like there is a certain allure to the darkness of humanity, and I think that it's always intriguing because the writers behind Life is Strange are good. The dialogue writers maybe not so much, but the storyline, the narrative writers are good. So I'm hoping that this will have a lot of crazy imagination stuff hampered by devastating real life consequences.
I like Life is Strange. I have a strange relationship with the more the more I think about it, like there's less I sort of like it. I think in part because of like the dialogue and the way the characters were drawn, whereas the concept and the plot itself was really great. And I thought this looked really lush, and like the concept, like you said, Ewan, was like really kind of hard hitting and sort of dived into some themes that I'm really fond of. I thought this is like a tone piece worked really well, and I want them to get this right. I was excited about this. If
I were to say where I think this will go in terms of how it ties into Life is Strange, I would assume that his power set would be the reason that the main character from the first game gets hers. As in, like, it's like he becomes aware of this great thing, there's this catastrophe that's going to come along, and then he gives her the power set to stop her.
Would that, because Life is Strange 2 is also coming, isn't it? So
I don't really know where it fits
Life
in.
is Strange 2? I don't know what they're doing. They've got a lot of games on the go.
I mean,
they just ship Vampire as well. Vampire.
Oh yeah, and they've also got 100 games that they've now added to the Games Access thing, whatever. The Games Pass.
If there was anything that won this conference, it was Games Pass, because they announced that every sort of exclusive, like first-party exclusive, will be on that day and date of the launch.
Yeah.
So that just means if you're an Xbox owner and you like Xbox games, there is no reason for you to not sort of get a pass.
Is that just a subscription service?
Yeah, one monthly thing, and you basically just get access to a library. It's basically Netflix for games. So
I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, obviously people probably, if you want to switch to a subscription for it, that makes sense, but I could potentially see this, again, potentially putting another nail in the coffin of, like, physical releases or whatever, or like individual stuff.
However, if they launch it well now and it gains traction, then it's a service that can carry on to the next console generation. That means that you'll always have a library of games that you're continually building that you can then keep playing no matter what console you're actually playing on. That's the only thing I can see, is that they're setting roots rather than trying to wow us with the back catalogue at the moment. But it's a very clever idea of, it wasn't clear on whether or not your monthly subscription would get you access to games like Forza 4 or Crackdown 3, because it said to them, like, these games will be appearing on it, but does that mean that you'll get access to them straight away?
I think you've got to. I think if you do that, you've got to get access to them immediately.
That's how you get access to people. Like, I'd say that's how you get people on board. If I was to say to you, would you rather pay 40 quid for this game, or would you rather pay $10.99 a month and you get it added to your library for free? In that sense.
I don't buy one game a month though.
But no, but then if they're releasing, I don't know. It's a hard one to justify, but it's
if you play a lot of games, it's probably good for you.
Yeah.
But if you kind of just dabble in, dipping your little toe in.
I mean, I like the idea of just like say dabbling, but not having to spend 30 quid for it or whatever. Like, I don't know. There's definitely things. But can we please talk about the game that I am both equally impressed and slightly worried by?
Go on.
And that is Session. Like, I made a huge deal about Skate 4 potentially coming back. EA put on the online service, and I thought that this was going to be in some part related to them.
Me too.
But then Session came out, and while it does look great, they didn't really show what I would consider to be gameplay.
No.
And I don't know. There's a vibe off of that didn't seem very Skate-y. I wanted Skate so badly. And
I think if that teaser came on and it was a teaser for Skate, it would have been fine. But because it's like a sort of a new separate thing, they needed to really come out and be like, oh, here's the gameplay, here's how it feels. A little bit more confident than what they did.
I think it's because of the fact that we won't be instantly familiar with the gameplay style. Like, if you're given a new game, you're going to have to learn a new control scheme, and there's always the risk that would go wrong. I enjoyed so much being able to flick the board out and do all the other crazy stuff, so hopefully they brought across that mechanic.
There are still rumours, and I guess we'll find out tonight, that Skate 4 could be shown off at Sony's conference still. So, they've got, like, Microsoft might have caught wind of that and thought, we can get our own skateboard game. We can get out first. I don't know if it's going to happen. I suppose, like, the final note on this conference is that Microsoft officially announced that they're working on the next Xbox, the next generation of Xbox. They've just shipped the Xbox One X, which is doing all right, all things considered. I mean, it's the world's most powerful console. They're getting a lot of traction out of that.
So yeah, obviously when we had the Xbox 360 and the PS3 and the Wii and all that, that generation lasted, was it eight or so years?
8 years.
It's a very, very long time. And I remember even when the PS4 got announced and stuff, people weren't ready to like switch on and stuff. I feel as though this generation has not tapped into its full potential yet. Whether that be because it's been through a lack of games or controversies or the way we've seen certain genres shift in the past few years. Then taking on to the next generation, I don't know if that's them taking the mick just a little bit, because I still feel as though on the whole, if we were to end this generation now, if we were going to put a curtain close on the PS4 and the Xbox One in the next 2 years, I probably feel a little bit disappointed about the whole thing. Yeah, I feel as though they still have time to give and make it better. Yeah. And or immediately asking your consumers to invest in a new console, I'm not entirely sure about that. Obviously, I want to see better things. Obviously, everyone wants to see gaming innovate. Yeah. But at the same time, I still feel as though they've not necessarily earned that switch. Yeah, I don't know.
I sort of see it. I think it's been a very strange generation as a whole. Obviously, we've seen these stopgap consoles, but I think Microsoft are eager to come out now because they sort of know they've lost. And I use lost quite loosely. They're second in the competition, but they're still doing really well. Like obviously, the
so
Xbox
why
One
not
X
create a new race straight away?
Yeah, exactly. So why not get out ahead and just be like, okay, we sort of concede. We didn't do this as well as we want to, but I mean, they're setting the groundwork now with Gamers Pass. They've got all these games that they've announced. They've teased new ones. They're getting new studios. Lest we forget, we didn't mention that they bought 5 studios, including Playground Games and Ninja Theory. They even teased that Playground Games were working on Fable 4.
That was a strange one, wasn't it?
Which is kind of exciting. It's no wonder that they don't sort of have that and used to properly show off. I'm sure that's really early development, but it's cool that they're like making plans for the future, so you can see why they'd want to kickstart the next generation now. Whereas Sony they've sort of earned the right to kind of course through on it, but how will this throw a spanner into the works going forward? I don't know.
Yeah, all to be found out later on tonight, though, isn't it?
100%. With Sony coming up later on, but this was the Xbox conference, and this video has gone on a long time because so did their conference. Either way, you need to stick with What Culture Gaming for more news and roundtables like this without the table. As always, I've been Josh.
I've been Ewan.
I've been Jules.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.